Hello there, this is Ms. Nakayama, and today's lesson is 1.6, Describing Angle Pairs. We are going to identify special angle pairs and use their relationships to find angle measures. But before we do that, we got to make sure we know our definitions and are able to read from the diagrams. Now, I may talk a little fast in this video. Please know that you can slow me down, speed me up, but more importantly, any questions that you have, you all have a note sheet. Write those questions down, either to ask me on the next time you see me or to ask a neighbor, during class today. While you're watching this video, you can pause it and ask. Okay, so first off, definitions that we need to know. Angle pairs. So the first one we have is adjacent angles. And you need to remember that these are two angles that share a common vertex and side. So in this picture, we have angle 1 and 2 are adjacent. Angle 3 and 4 are adjacent angles. Then we have something called linear pair. I'll go ahead and highlight that. Linear pair of angles. And they are two adjacent angles whose uncommon sides are opposite rays. So you can also think of it as a pair of angles whose non-common side makes us a line. All lines are straight, but those are your opposite rays, are from here to here and there to there. So 1 and 2 make a linear pair. This is the common side. They have to have a side in common, and the other side that's not in common has to be opposite rays. Okay, vertical angles, two angles whose sides are opposite rays. So if you look at this, this right here, that is an opposite ray to that right there. Those are opposite rays. And the other side, this is an opposite ray to that. So those are your opposite rays. And some people actually like to draw it like this. And if you look at that, this right here is a V. This is an upside down V. Those are your vertical angles. So 1 and 2 are vertical angles. 3 and 4 are vertical angles. You're going to see those a lot. They're going to come in handy. Okay. Next, we have complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary angles are two angles whose measures have a sum of 90 degrees. Supplementary, two positive angles whose measures have a sum of 180 degrees. Okay, so here are some examples of the pictures. They don't have to be adjacent. Most times they are. But complementary adds up to 90. Supplementary adds up to 180. You're going to get confused on that. So if you remember, C comes before S in the alphabet. You can't read those very well. Let me change that. Let's try this one. C comes before S in the alphabet. 90 comes before 180 when you count. So the C goes with the 90. Complementary is 90 degrees. Supplementary is 180 degrees. Okay, information from a diagram. These items here, you can conclude this without any special markings. And that is, if the angles are adjacent or straight, okay, we can accept that. Adjacent and supplementary, vertical angles, collinear points, line rays, and segments are all going to intersect at a point. What you cannot conclude, okay, you look at a diagram, an angle and a segment, angle and or segments are not congruent to one another unless you have markings. An angle is not a right angle unless you have a marking, that little square in the corner. Angles are not complementary unless you are told or there's some sort of marking. Okay, so let's look at our examples. The first thing we have in the figure, name a pair of complementary angles, a pair of supplementary angles, and a pair of adjacent angles. So I'm looking for complementary. Complementary, C comes before S, so 90 comes before 180. So I'm looking for two angles that add up to 90 degrees. And that, of course, would be angle, the one that's 28 degrees and 62 degrees. So that's angle B and angle FEG. Next, we're looking for supplementary. Okay, I'm looking for two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So 180 degrees would be 108 and 72, and that's going to be angle J and DEG. And then last, I just need a pair of adjacent angles. And adjacent angles would be these two here because they have a common side, and that's all they need. It's just a common side. I was thinking of linear pair. So that would be DEG and GEF, angle GEF. Okay? Next, look at this picture here. Identify all the linear pairs of all the vertical angles. And I'm going to pause for a second here, y'all. If you feel like you know this, then pause the video, go answer all the questions, and then check yourself against the video. That'll just make everything much easier for you. But first and foremost, we're going to go find linear pairs. Okay, and my linear pairs, I'm going to start somewhere, and it doesn't matter. I just happen to start at 1, and I go clockwise. So remember, their non-common side makes a line, or they have opposite rays. So I'm going to start off with angle 1 and 4, and then I'm going to go around, up and around, 4 and 3, 3 and 2, 2 and 1, and then I'm going to go over to the 8, and that group of 4. So I have 8 and 7, 7 and 6, 6 and 5, and then 5 and 8. And those are all of our linear pairs. Okay. Next, I have vertical angles. Remember, vertical angles are the ones that make the V. So they're opposite each other, if you can look at it in the diagram. So I'm going to have, for my vertical angles, I'm going to have 1 and 3, and then I'm going to have 2 and 4, and then I'm going to have 5 and 7, and 6 and 8. And that's all my vertical angles. Okay, look at this. Use the figure at the right for problems 3 through 8. Name a pair of linear angles. So linear angles means the key in this particular thing is this right here. That means their non-common side makes a line. So I have a line here, and I have a line here. So I can either choose angle 1 and angle 5, or I could choose angle 1 and angle 2 because they are adjacent and their non-common side makes a line. Okay, look at number 4. Name 2 pairs of complementary angles. Name 2 pairs. Okay, well, I think they really only want 1 because there's only 1 in this picture. That would, oh, you know what they're doing? I know what they're doing. Okay, 2 pairs of complementary angles. We have angle 4 and angle 5. Okay, so another pair, if I know that 5 is congruent to 2, how do I know that those are, well, we don't know that. I'm going to stop there, y'all. Those are the only ones that you know right now. From our picture, 4 and 5, because of this right angle here, then I know that 4 and 5 are complementary. Vertical angles, those are the ones that make that V and that are kind of opposite each other. That's 2 and 5. 5 pairs of adjacent angles. Okay, that's anything adjacent is next to. So if I started with 4, I've got 4 and 5. Go away. I've got 4 and 5. Then I have 5 and 1. And then I have 1 and 2. And then I have 2 and 3. And then 3 and 4. And those are 5 pairs. Name a pair of supplementary angles. Supplementary would be these same ones up here because that's what a linear pair does. So I'm going to have 1 and 5 and 1 and 2. What is the sum of angles 2, 3, and 4? 2, 3, and 4. Well, if you add those together, they are actually looking at this right here. I'm looking to say, what do these 3 add up to? Well, I hope you can tell that that side they don't have in common is a line, so they're all going to add up to 180 degrees because that's a straight angle. Okay? All right. Next, can you make each conclusion from the information in the diagram below? Angle DAB is right here, and CDB is right here. Can we conclude they are congruent? And we can because they both have that one line showing those angles are congruent. All right, this time it's asking us if angle ADB, which is this angle here, and CDB, which is this angle here, are they complementary? Well, we don't have any kind of right angle symbol, and we don't know anything about the numbers, so that would be a no. Next, we have angle DBA. DBA is right here. and DBC is right here. They are adjacent and supplementary. And that is a yes, because their non-opposite side makes a line. So that means together this is 180, and you know this one right here is 90. So that means that one is 90. So they add up to, that was even further than I needed to go. Okay, look at the next one. ADB, that's up here. ADB and BCD, are they congruent? From the information marked in the diagram, I'm going to say no. Can you eventually find it? Yes. If you want any more explanation, come see me or email me or write a note. We'll talk about it. All right, and last but not least, DBA, angle DBA. And we kind of just talked about this here. So if I know that this is 90 degrees and this is a straight angle, then that means that DBA has to be 90. So we're going to say yes here. Okay? All right, turn your papers over and let's look at the rest of the examples. So we're going to have to write some equations. We have angle KPL and angle JPL are a linear pair. That's right here, linear pair. So they have a common side that is adjacent, and the non-common side makes a straight angle. So measure of angle KPL is marked for you, 2x plus 24. And the measure of angle JPL is 4x plus 36. What are the measures of those two angles? So we're going to write an equation. And what that's going to tell us, if they're a linear pair, as you can see from our picture, then we know that these two angles are going to add up to 180. So I'm going to write 2x plus 24 plus 4x plus 6 equals 180, because that's my linear pair. All right, when I add my x's, I kind of skipped a step here, so feel free to write it in. But if I add my x's, I get 6x. And I didn't mean to do the whole thing. But 24 plus 36 is 60. And if I take that to the other side by subtraction, 180 minus 60 is 120. So that's where I get 6x equals 120. Divide by 6, and I get x equals 20. And that means that you now need to go plug it in to that x, missed it, and that x. So if I plug 20 in right here, 2 times 20 is 40, and 40 plus 24 is 64. So measure of angle KPL is 64 degrees. 4 times 20 is 80, and 80 plus 36 is 116. And of course, you could check yourself by adding those two together, and when you add them two together, you're going to get 180. So you know you've done it correctly. All right, look at 15. Two angles form a linear pair. I'm struggling, y'all. The measure of one angle is 8 times the measure of the other angle. Find the measure of each angle. So I have one angle that's going to be x, and it is 8 times the measure of the other one. So that means the other one is going to be 8x. They form a linear pair. If they form a linear pair, then I know that they add up to 180. Linear pair, there's that line, okay? To help you remember that the straight angle is a line. All right, find the measure of each. So I have 9x equal to 180 and x equals 20. So that means that the two angles, one of them is 20, and then 8 times 20 is 160. So I'm going to have 20 and 160. Okay, the veins in a leaf form a pair of supplementary angles. Again, supplementary angles. Okay, you need to think to yourself, that's the one that starts after, so they add up to 180 degrees. Find the measure of the angles when angle 1 is 7x plus 13. Okay, in our picture, angle 1 is 7x plus 13, and 2 is 25x plus 7. So that means that 7x plus 13 plus 25x plus 7 has to equal 180. So I'm going to add my x's and get 32. And 13 and 7 make 20. When I take 180 minus 20, I get 160. And I divide by 32 and find out x is 5. And then I'm going to go plug in x. Well, that didn't work too well, but y'all got the idea. X equal to 5 here. and x equal to 5 here. And when I plug them in, I'm going to get the measure of angle 1 is 48 degrees and the measure of angle 2 is 132 degrees. Check yourself. Do those two numbers add up to 180? If they do, then you're in good shape. If they don't, then you plugged it back in incorrectly. All right. Angle A is the complement of B, and the measure of angle A is 25 degrees. Well, if it's a complement, supplement's 90. You might want to write this down every time you're doing it. Complement is 90. Excuse me. Yeah. Supplement is 180. What I'm trying to say is complement is 90 degrees. So all I have to do is do 90 minus 25. And that answer, of course, is 65 degrees. Okay? Angle A is a supplement of angle B. Well, if A is a supplement, I need to think 180. So I'm thinking 180 degrees. So I'm going to come over here and go, LOL. The measure, I'm going to do 180 minus 43. And that, of course, gives me not the answer that I have. So 1 second, please. It's all good. So 180 minus 43 means that the measure of angle B is equal to 137 degrees. Okay, 19. Angle A. If angle A and angle B are supplementary and the measure of angle A supplementary, y'all, if you write it down every time, you will know it. But I promise you, it's not hard to do, but you're going to see it a lot. So you need to remember which word goes with which number. Okay, they're supplementary, and measure of angle A is 7x plus 16. The measure of angle B is 9x minus 12. Find the measure of each angle. So if they're supplementary, that means that A, which is 7x plus 16, plus B, which is 9x minus 12, has to add up to 180. So I add my x's, I get 16. 16 minus 12, the 16 minus 12 is 4. So I'm going to subtract 4 to get it to the other side. That's 176. So x equals 11. And I'm going to go plug it in. 11, I'm going to plug in right here. And I'm going to plug in right there. So I'm going to find that the measure of angle A is 93 degrees. And the measure of angle B is 187 degrees. And that's what we got. All right, last one. If angle A and angle B are complementary, the measure of angle A is 3x plus 5. Measure of angle B is 5x minus 3. Find the measure of each angle. And what am I going to say again? Complementary is what number? Complementary is 90 degrees. So that means that 3x plus 5 plus 5x minus 3 has to equal 90. I add my x's, I get 8. And when I combine 5 and negative 3, I get 2. So I'm going to subtract to take it to the other side. So that gives me 88, which means x equals 11. And I'm going to go plug that in for x in both of these and find out that the measure of angle A is 38 degrees and the measure of angle B is 52 degrees. And those two together add up to 90. So I'm good. And that is all I have for describing angle pairs, reading from diagrams. Remember, complementary and supplementary. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or come see me. Thank you so much for watching, and y'all have a great day.